Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Roots and Branches. I'm Christine Mola, your host. So in episode 1, I shared the story of my self-imposed pause, a season where I stopped performing, stopped pushing, and listened deeply to what my life was asking of me. What I didn't name yet, but many of you likely felt, I'm sure, is why that pause was necessary. Because so many of us have learned early on to survive by adapting, by reading the room, by becoming what was needed, even when it cost ourselves. So today, we're naming that pattern, not to shame it, but to honor it, then gently release it. This episode is about the chameleon, the armor we once wore to stay safe, succeed, and belong, and the courage it takes to lay it down. And I cannot imagine a better guest, a better woman to have this conversation with than my lovely guest today. I am joined by Ms. Mikki Parker, a behavior change I'm going to blow you up right now. Okay. A behavior change expert on a mission to help female entrepreneurs unlock sustainable health and unstoppable confidence. Mikki is the founder of Thrive Together with Mikki, where she blends psychology, habit formation, and wellness strategies to help women create lasting lifestyle transformations, not just for their health, but for their leadership and businesses. So here's the biggie, all right? After 30 years as an occupational therapist, and here it is, certified lymphedema therapist, 20 years of service in the Army. Thank you so very much. I can't wait to hear more about that. And a powerful career transition in 2022. Mikki chose to fully step into her own next chapter, rewriting her wellness story and guiding other women to do the same, as so many of us have. She's also the managing director of the eWomenNetwork Greater Hartford chapter, where she's building a heart-centered, which we love, a super-duper heart-centered driven community of women entrepreneurs focused on connection, collaboration, and conscious growth. Love those 3 C's. Mikki, I'm so grateful you're here.
Thank you, Christine.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Yes. So, this has been this is a love thing going on, a little love fest happening, and bringing you into this moment of talking about the chameleon. So many of us have walked that path, and at this point, I want to share, I'm not so much going to share my journey as much as I really want to be in your journey. I want to walk through the shoes with you, not the Army shoes, because that's a lot, but I want to hear about it. But here's the question. When did you first realize you were adapting to be accepted or safe?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
My heart.
Yes.
So interestingly enough, I was an only child, or I am an only child. And most of my life, I actually was looking for that acceptance. I was always having to seek out my friends. I had a very strict upbringing. It was very natural for me to step into an Army situation when I was 17 and enlisted in the Army, because that's what I knew. And it always was that seeking of acceptance, seeking of that, you've done a good job, right?
Absolutely.
Even just that little bit of validation. And, in school, even high school, before I went in the military, I was always the chameleon. We had this conversation about I was friends in this friend group, I was friends in that friend group, I was friends in this friend group, and I didn't ever have that one single identity that I was known for. So going into the military again was very natural for me. I went into very performative-based careers. I was an occupational therapist, certified lymphedema therapist, and those things are results-driven, right? You see a measure, you get reimbursed based on a measure. Sure. I stepped into direct sales, and then you also have quotas and things that you have to fulfill. So for me, it was just what I knew. Absolutely. And, I guess there was a space where I didn't know differently. I thought that this was the way it was for everyone. And that's where that chameleon came in, where I was always seeking that acceptance.
Absolutely. And it becomes so easy to take this mask off. Oh, okay, thank you. This KPI for you, and this sales goal for you, and whatever that might be in the terms of what you're going through. But it becomes a beautiful pattern of just saying, okay, I'm putting this one off today. I can take this one off. Yeah. And so effectively, what happens to us as we move through?
Well, I think we start to equate our worth with those results. And we don't necessarily have our own internally driven sense of our worth because everything is from that external standpoint.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So, let's kind of bring the arc to what happens when that gets so heavy, when it starts to feel like the armor is it's not just here in the face anymore. It's just but it is literally sitting on my shoulders. It has become a suit. That suit of armor.
Suit of armor, for sure. I like to say that people pleasing in that space it allowed me to stay functional.
Yeah.
But it didn't necessarily allow me to thrive.
For sure.
And, for me specifically, some of the things that I noticed were my relationships were not good. My finances were not good. My, ability to bring up my children properly wasn't good. There were so many signs, never mind just the physical ones, the health ones. My gut was terrible. I was on the verge of a second divorce, and I just couldn't see all of those things for what they were worth.
Boy, do we relate. It's burnout, complete burnout. It comes to the point where you're no longer, you've never even realized how to listen to your body. The wisdom in your body is entangled in the roots. And I spoke about that in episode 1, your roots get so entangled, but that's where we carry all of our wisdom. But if we are so externally, constantly just being nerved at, we have no ability to just ground and go into that nerve system and start to, come across. And of course, that's where your nutrition steps in.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, like I said, my gut was terrible. And one of the first things I had to look at is what I was consuming, but also how my body was reacting to what it was that I was consuming. And so I went on almost a 4-year journey of no grains whatsoever. Wow. Not just no carbs, but no grains. And it reset my whole system. That's beautiful. And it allowed me to now be on the space of a healthy body moving forward. But it took a pretty big crash for me, both emotionally, physically, medically, to get to that space. And, a lot of things, for me, it was pre-COVID that things really started to change, to allow me to, or really the universe forced me to get quiet.
Oh, girl, don't we know?
Right?
That was a forced course correction for so many.
Right. Yeah. And pre-COVID, I had 3 reconstructive neck surgeries throughout January to 2020 to March of 2021. And those left me in a space of not having the same career that I had for the last 25 years as an occupational therapist, to be able to do the things that I thought defined me. It was just wiped out from underneath my feet, and it was crazy.
So does that kind of beg to that arc of the cost of staying armored? Neck surgeries in your case, and other people, they've had other things that cost them physically, mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
Right?
In that space, I lost my career as I knew it. I lost my relationship. I was now on the doorstep of divorce, not on the verge anymore. Sure. Some of it wasn't my own choice. And then those choices that were made for me ended up being some of the best choices ever, because I was able to get quiet, get in the moment. I went to a 2021 workshop about what your goals were for the year. And the person said, "What are your values?" And I went, "I'm not really sure what they are. I don't know." And so in that quiet space I was sharing with you ahead of time, I was able to do that soul searching and find who Mikki Parker was or is, and figure out what I stood for, what I valued, and what I wanted. I didn't have that before that space. My life values are on this necklace that are engraved on 4 sides from a great friend of mine, Julia Bernatsky, who's Untamed Hearts Jewelry Business.
Tremendous.
And she's one of my closest friends.
Plugs intended.
Yes, plug intended. And I did say to her, like, this is what I've come up with, and would you please put that on a necklace? That's and I've worn it since then.
That's so inspirational. As the reason we are here in this Roots and Branches season is because of that great pause, the one that I took, intentionally, and we all thrive from those, and to have it marked and literally embedded in your heart. That's so cool. We all have to. We're gonna have to think about that. So, with that's behavior change as truth telling as we move forward. So, as you are literally behaviors embedded, it helps you to remind you of the changes that you've made. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to keep going. And there's that mirror thing. Looking yourself in the mirror. And when I moved into my new condo after I had left a long-term relationship, I put "You look amazing" on the mirror in the powder room downstairs, so that even when others come over, they're reminded. Oh, and it works. It's a reminder, and that mirror thing. So just taking this moment to shift and that shift. You know what? Let's talk about just for a second how that moment felt in that shift for you.
Well, I think for me, it started to build an internal authority. And we talked a little bit off camera about self-governance and what that really looked like. And it starts with knowing who you are, building your self-esteem and your self-love, being able to look yourself in the mirror with integrity, and just being able to build the internal authority to honor yourself. And, one of those things for a lot of people is boundaries. Sure. Boundaries are not mean. They're not walls. No, they're designed to be exactly what you need to do to help others treat you the way you expect to be treated, and to help you honor those boundaries, but also to give you guidance as far as how you're going to behave in a relationship or, conducting yourself even in business.
And some of the things that are not recognized by when we put boundaries up is we are actually teaching the others around us how to be, not projecting our-ness onto them, but saying, I'm standing here, the big word, my word for 2026 is sovereignty. Does it sound cliche? It does not. It sounds just like what you're speaking about. We are standing in our roots, untangling our roots and really finding them. But in that, giving teaching moments to others that are around us, because that's how we create the collective consciousness and raise the vibration, right?
And we, our especially our offspring, our children specifically see the example we set for them. And when you can set that example in alignment with integrity and be able to have an impact on yourself and others, they learn that from us.
It's golden. It's legacy. It's pattern breaking, creating, such an amazing, again, collective consciousness for our predecessors. So, now we're getting into that moment of actually releasing the armor. How difficult that is, right? Because we talk about pattern breaking. It's a pattern. So we can still go through all of this process, and it's a reminder and they're blessed things. But as I mentioned in episode 1, and we mentioned with our clients, healing is not linear. This is where we give ourselves grace, right? It's okay to step in the poop again.
Right.
As long as you know to shake it off, right? Detangle the roots of the compost, but actually the compost is important.
Right.
So the poo's kind of important, guys.
It is important.
Right? It's important. And it's important for us to know that when we release it, it might show back up again. But that's growth, right?
Right. Well, and one of the words that is on my necklace, which you didn't even know which 4 words are here, one of them is grace.
See, it's important.
Love, belief, kindness, and grace. And if you think about those 4 letters, it's LB, KG, and I say myself, I live my life in pounds and kilograms, LB and KG.
It will be in the show notes, everyone.
Right. And
I love that. That's beautiful. It gave me chills.
Yes. And going back to your question, we making adjustments for ourselves I call them micro habits or micro changes that we can change, that compound and build over time, is truly the only way to do it. Because a life overhaul for most people is not going to last.
For sure.
And it's not going to feel really good either during that space. So getting into the space of micro habits, micro changes, micro shifts, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's in your own behaviors, whether it's in your lifestyle, your activity level, your nutrition, all of those things together, the more you can focus on those micro habits, the easier it will be to make the change.
Micro habits. I mean, I think a lot of us, that's such a challenge, right? A friend and colleague had said to me just last week, building those micro habits, having a cup of hot water in the morning, something like that. It's having those habits and self-motivating becomes that part of releasing the chameleon that we've been.
Right. Well, that's that self-governance, coming back to that. It is about making the conscious choices to move toward what we want, whether it's a goal or, whatever it is, those are the conscious choices we make. Yeah. And really, going back to the boundary even, is honoring your own needs in that space. You set boundaries with yourself too. It's not just external, and being able to follow through with what it is that you say you want to do. Yeah.
And you have to be vigilant. Mm-hmm. We've said this over many years in our coaching, even being told to us, we are our best advocate ever, right? Mm-hmm. Which we can be our worst advocate, but we're going to stay in that best advocate ever. So, always knowing that everything is up to us. We own our 3 fingers. And again, I mentioned that in episode 1, those 3 fingers. And I used that term early and often. Ask one of my daughters, the 3 fingers pointing back at us. That's all that matters.
Right.
Yeah. So as we move to the close of this episode, what is one beautiful, there's like so many little beautiful things that you have shared with us in this moment that we're sharing together, having our tea. But with that being said, what can we leave our listener with today?
So on the topic of micro habits, 2 that have been very impactful. My word for 2026 is impact. And it's not just the impact I have outside, it's the internal impact I have as well. 2 very small micro habits that I'd love to leave your listeners with today is, number 1, while you're brushing your teeth every day, stand on one leg while you're doing one area, stand on the other leg while you're doing the other area, and work on your balance. That's a micro habit you can do while you're already doing something else that you do most of the time twice a day.
That is just so cool. It's just one other word. I think of that flamingo. I'm imagining, right? I can't be the only one thinking that. Right. One leg, right.
Out to the side if you want to challenge yourself a little bit.
Right. And laugh at yourself maybe a little bit as you're doing it.
And be like, oof, I must be tired, right? So it's data.
I love that.
The other thing is to make a date with yourself. Make a date with yourself. Doesn't matter what that looks like, but it can be a daily date. It can be a weekly date. It can be a monthly date. Something to look forward to. Put it on your calendar and protect it with all of your heart and soul to take that time for yourself. When I journal each morning, one of the things is gratitude. One of the things is intention. And then the last thing I journal on before I close it is 2 things I'll do for me today.
Beautiful.
And that sets the stage.
Intention creates your impact, creates the sovereignty, and we just continue to go. That's amazing. I love that you journal every morning. That's such anything that you can do for that safe space created for yourself each day is very important.
And sometimes when I say the 2 things for me, the first thing is this.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm doing this for me.
That's it. Yeah. And again, that is how we raise the vibration of the collective, starting here, right here, in this small little microcosm of us, right? So let's reflect on the chameleon for a minute. Heaviness, release, sovereignty. Easy peasy lemon squeezy?
No. We make it sound so easy, right? When we're sitting here having this conversation.
That's right. Well, and it's been a lot of work for both of us and for, I'm sure, the collective that is watching us. You are not alone. We are never alone in this. So as we move through and, come out, the chameleon lives in all of us. It's okay to have that as part of your journey, as long as you understand that you can integrate that. It's like integrating the shadow of yourself and the light, and just come together and give yourself the grace that Miss Mikki wears on her décolleté. So lovely. So with that being said, we're going to thank Mikki, Ms. Mikki Parker. Thank you so much for being here today. If you would like to connect with Mikki, her connection links will be in the show notes, as well as me. If you would love to schedule a discovery chat, a Bloom chat with me, you can reach me in the link notes. And with that, until we see each other again, stay rooted, stay rising, and always stay blooming.